All right, everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be showing you how to install the platform one roof rack on your Lexus GX460. All right, let's get started.
All right, so step number one is going to be assembling the platform. So what you should do is you should go ahead and watch our video dedicated to assembling the platform. If you're also installing the side lights, you're going to want to watch the wiring guide video as well, as now is the time to do all of that, installing the side lights and do the wiring in the same get-go. Go ahead and watch those videos. Once you watch those videos, head back over here. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get started installing the roof rack. So what we're gonna do before we get anything done is go over our materials and tools needed. Diving right in, you're gonna want a metric set of sockets with a ratchet, hex keys or an Allen keys, as well as wrenches. Standard metric wrenches are also gonna be needed. And then you're also gonna need these two things, a tub of RTV, as well as some blue painter's tape. You're also gonna want a way to clean up the roof. So we're just using some glass cleaner and some shop wipes. And then some nice to haves are gonna be a plastic trim tool and an air shim. You do not need those, but it's gonna be a nice to have. All right, so step number two is going to be removing the OEM roof rack. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so when you're removing the OEM rack, the first step is gonna be removing, there's some OEM or some access ports on here. You're gonna go ahead and remove those. You're gonna use a skinny flathead screwdriver, or you can use a plastic trim tool as well if it can fit in there. You're just gonna basically put your thing in there, pop them out. Once you pop those out, you're gonna get access to the 12mm bolt heads. So you're gonna go ahead and remove all the bolts, and then the entire piece will come off in one go. Perfect. All right, so when you're doing there's gonna be a total of three pairs of bolts running along each side. Just remember when you're doing it, that they're kind of like it's kind of like a U-bolt situation or a U-nut situation. You're gonna wanna make sure you're tightening and loosening these together as one. So tighten one or loosen one on one side, go loosen the other one on the other side for a little bit, kind of go back and forth between them. There's nothing really holding them in place. You wanna make sure you're always applying even pressure to these so they don't fall through, because if they fall through, they're gonna be in your headliner, and that's a whole ordeal. So we wanna try to do everything we can to avoid that. So apply even pressure on each one, disperse it as much as you can. All right, so with the OEM rack removed, we're gonna go ahead and move on to getting the truck ready for the platform to be mounted on there. So the step number one, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our spacers, we're gonna RTV them and go place them on top of the truck with the RTV facing down. Then we're gonna move to the brackets. So let's get this started. All right, so once we have the spacers and the RTV on, next up, we're gonna move over to the brackets. So what we're gonna go ahead and do, starting from the front of the vehicle, moving our way to the rear, we're gonna start with the shortest in the front, move our way to the longest. Just note, we also have the bump stops that are gonna go at the very, very front. Just note, we're not gonna use these just yet. This is gonna wait until the platform's actually mounted. So I'll put those to the side for now. Let's go ahead and head over to the rack where we'll talk about the orientation and the washer order. So figure out what order these washers go in. So when it comes to the washer order, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the neoprene washer on first, the ceiling washer, and then from there, we're gonna put on the standard washer, and then from there, we're gonna slot it through the bracket. So this bracket will slit with the slotted holes on the bottom, and then this plate right here is gonna face the outside of the vehicle. So when we're getting this thing started, what we want to make sure is we're doing even pressure throughout the entire installation. We want these to be tight enough, but not too tight, because once we get the rack installed, we will have to move this and shift this around a little bit. So get it nice and finger tight, but not crazy, and this still needs to have some play to it. All right, let's get these installed. All right, just to reiterate, we want to make sure we're working from the front to the back. We're going to use the short ones, or the short one up front. The long ones are going to be in the back too. So short one in the front, long one in the back too.
All right, so it is another day. We are still currently prototyping some things, so we wanted to change a few things before we actually got this rack on there. So brackets are installed. Now we're going to go ahead and install the roof rack on the top of the vehicle. From there, we're going to be able to move some things around, get everything fine-tuned, and then we're going to go ahead and move to the bump stop installation, as well as the light bar installation, and wrap this whole thing up. All right, get this thing on. All right, so once you have the rack settled on top, the next thing we're gonna go ahead and start doing is start inserting the carriage bolts into the L brackets to get everything nice and secure. So we're doing it. All right, so with the rack on, we went ahead and slid it around a little bit, make sure it was perfectly centered. Once you feel comfortable on how it's centered and how it looks on the vehicle, you're gonna go ahead and start to sneak everything down. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten all of the carriage bolts, and then you're gonna tighten the main bolts going into the roof as well. Make sure everything is really, really nice and tight. And then if you wanted to kind of slide the platforms around as well on top, you wanna make sure you tighten those down as well. Just do a bolt check on everything, make sure everything is nice and tight. That's what we're doing now. All right, so once you get everything nice and tight, the next step is going to be the bump stop. Brad covers this really, really in-depth on the Land Cruiser install video, so we're actually going to play that here so you can learn and figure out exactly the best route and the best way to mount the bump stop.
So the last bracket we're going to install is actually a bump stop, and so this rests on the rain gutter. Now, in order to get this installed, we're going to use what's called an air shim, and this basically sticks in here, and this is a nice-to-have tool. This sticks in here, we'll pump it up, and then that'll give us enough room to put this in here, install it with just a little bit of tension. Now, if you don't have an air shim, get your buddy that helped you install a roof rack and put a little upward pressure on there. Install this, because you want this to be a little bit of tension, so this keeps this nice and firm. That way our light bar is going to be nice and solid.
All right, so the next step is going to be installing the light bar. Really the last and final step before you finish the wiring. But we're just going to basically get it in place, get your nuts and washers on, nice and snug, and then we'll move to the bump stop and the rest of the Pro 6 tighten this in. And that's a wrap. That's everything you need to know on how to install the Platform 1 roof rack on your Lexus GX460. Please note, just do a last bolt check, make sure everything is nice and tight, make sure all your wires are ready to go. Those are the last couple things you're going to want to just make sure once you're finished up and looking at this thing. If you have any questions or need a reference on the wiring or the platform assembly, check the description down below. We'll have a link to those other videos. If you have any questions on the roof rack, drop a comment down below and we'll make sure to get back to you as soon as we can. But that's it for the Platform 1 on the GX460. See you guys in the next one.